Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Planet Becky and welcome back to the basic build series. Oh my goodness, you guys, this series is challenging me. So the inspiration for this build actually came from someone else's Planet Zoo build. I'm not gonna lie to you, I saw this on Google Images and I was like, damn, that is cool. I wonder how I could build that. So I tried my hardest because you know it's what I'm good at. I will link their, I think it was a Reddit post. I will link their Reddit post down below if I can find it again. But I was like, oh, that's so cool. I really wish I could learn how to build that. Once again, I'm really struggling with the whole like spacing thing and how to get all of that to work. So that is one thing I am really struggling with in this game. I didn't realize that spacing would be so difficult. Anyway, we got these Bactrian Camels. They are the build for today. So I knew that I wanted this to be like a submerged kind of enclosure with the people being on top. I love that they just float. Cracks me up every time. Anyway, so I knew that I kind of wanted that, and I knew that I kind of wanted like a viewing kind of area for them as well. Yeah, once again, struggling with paths. Struggling is an understatement. So I knew I wanted like a little viewing area where people could go and view the camels in. One thing I really enjoyed about this build is I knew that I knew kind of like what I wanted. I just didn't really know how to build it. But do you know what? I was actually really happy with how it turned out in the end. So the building for this, I wanted almost kind of like an education center. That's kind of the vibe I was thinking in my head. But I also want to incorporate some of like the shops and things like that are in game that work so beautifully. And that's kind of the idea that I was going for here. So I knew that I just wanted to keep it small and simple and not super dramatic. I got to a point where I was getting really frustrated with this and I actually just deleted the whole thing. So I was like, nope, this isn't working. This isn't what I want. I actually built this one on stream. So if you guys enjoy these builds and you want to see them done a little bit slower, they are actually, some of them are built on stream. So you should definitely go and check out my Twitch. We are there every Tuesday and Sunday. Sometimes we play Planet Zoo, sometimes we play other games, but this one I definitely built on stream, and I really loved having that like in-person kind of feedback like straight away. And so with this I was like, okay, so this is the idea that I'm going for, and I even showed people on stream that the build inspiration that I had found, and I was like, okay, so this is the vibe, and people were like, that is really cool, I really like that. And they were giving me a lot of like helping me out and like giving me tips and tricks, as I like to call them, on how to make this build better. So yeah, this is like the main like education area, and I wanted to make sure that this looked like an actual building that you would see in the zoo, basically. Anyway, so the idea for this whole series is to teach me how to build a little bit more intricate builds within the game. I wanted to create a basic build, a detailed zoo, sorry, and I realized very quickly that I have forgotten how to build. And so I was like, well, doing the idea of basic builds for each and every animal, I think would be a really cool way to teach me how to build. Now, I had seen this build online from this other player, and I was like, wow, that looks really cool. I'm going to try and recreate it. I was like, okay, so we'll put the path off the ground, all of that. We can just put some fencing underneath it to block it. That's how it will work and it will look great. And then I kind of decided, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if that looks right. But you can see me here kind of like experimenting, and I kind of did like a little poll in the Twitch chat, and I was like, okay, what do you guys think? And then we decided, Becky, no, that looks silly. Put like the terraform it. And this is when we were chatting about the fact that this says 8 meters, and it is obviously not 8 meters, but it was fine. And then I was like, actually, I quite like that idea. And then I was like, guys, you just have to trust the process. Trust the process. So it literally looked like I deleted absolutely everything. I didn't delete absolutely everything. I was telling people to trust the process, because I was like, the process is going to look great once it's done. But right now, you guys just need to trust the gal that it's going to look great. And people in chat were like, we trust you, but you know, okay. And I was like, just, you know, hear me out here. Once again, struggling to place that bit, but it's fine. So this is one of those builds where I had an idea in my head. I knew what I wanted to build. Could I build it? I was struggling. Did I struggle with that like entrance path thing again? Yes. I don't know if there is a bug or something. But anyway, it works out. It works out. I promise you that. It does. We get it all hooked up. And people in chat were saying, dude, this kind of just looks like a pit. You've just thrown these camels into a pit. And I was like, yeah, but just trust me. I was having to say a lot of just trusts me's. It was a process getting this to work as I wanted it. But actually, do you know what? By the time that you guys see this like eventual build, you're going to be like, the process is right. So these camels are like really cool animals, but I kind of wanted it to just look natural, like really, really natural. I didn't want it to be like how a lot of my builds are in the past, where it's like, here's some fencing and here's a viewing area, which isn't bad. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I also know that that's not necessarily the best way to learn to build, because I can do that in time scenarios, you know? I can put in a fence and I can just go from there. I don't need that whole, you know, this is how amazing it's gonna look. But I want to make sure that I'm putting in the basics of absolutely everything for these animals. But oh my goodness, you guys, this build took me so long, but I was so happy with the way that it actually turned out. And it just looks so good by the end. And I really enjoyed the way that these rocks and everything made it look really natural and made it look like it wasn't just like a random pit. So yeah, and so for the other part of this build was, from the original picture, I had seen that they have this really, really cool fence, and I was like, scratched my head for ages looking through all the fence pieces going, how on earth did they build this fence? I have no idea. And then someone was like, maybe they custom built it. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's time to custom build a fence. Great, wonderful. So that is currently what we are doing. I was recreating this fence from this person that I had seen online, and I was like, whoa. And I was like, that's gonna take forever. But we got there in the end, and it's one of those things that I was like, do you know what? I'm going to put in the time and I'm going to put in the effort to make this look really, really good. One thing I learned whilst watching another streamer was you can move the people in this game. I had no idea that you could move the people. Not a clue. But you know what? I think it actually turned out really, really nice. I saved it as a blueprint. Absolutely I did, because I was like, just in case I accidentally delete this, like the smallest amount, I was like, I am not rebuilding that. That took me forever. And then I decided I actually didn't like it in white, so I wanted to change it to green. And do you know what? The green just really, it looked so much better for me. And I was like, wow. And then I was like, I don't like how this looks. I want it to be only one pole. Had to really go back and redo it again. But do you know what? By the time that it turned out, it looks just so good. And I take my hat off to anyone that builds like custom pieces and custom fences in this game, because that is challenging. Like really, really challenging. You have to have such imagination to be able to do that. Like such imagination. And I see some people's like basic, like they're like little builds of like certain like areas and stuff like that. And oh my god, I'm blown away. So one thing I really want to learn something I really want to learn in this series is how to use all of these like small pieces within the game to make my builds look even better. And that is, I don't think that's a bad idea. So there you go, use that blueprint because I accidentally deleted just the one, changed it to green, all good and dandy. So although I had done like half of the rocks here, I was like, it doesn't look quite right with only like half of it being rock and then half of it just being like this like muddy mulch thing. So I was like, okay, let's like enclose it in rocks. And I was like, I like this. I like this a lot. And actually I was getting a lot of really good feedback on stream when we were building this. And I was like, yep, this is how it goes. This is what it is. And do you know what? Just like changing up some of the rocks, making sure you're placing them in different ways, that you're not placing the same type of rock over and over and over again. Even though I am here, I'm like twisting them, I'm putting them at different levels, different colours, all of those sorts of things. It does just make a bit of a difference. Actually, it makes a massive difference in all honesty. Because then it's just not going to look like the same exact rock going the whole way around. It does just give it that different textures and dynamics and all of those things. And yeah, I used this window piece in our very first one in this series, and I was like, I loved how that looked. So I really wanted to like recreate that and place in those windows again. I just think they look so cute and like quaint. I really, really love them. I think they are maybe one of my favourite build pieces in the game. So yeah, so going back to the animals, the Bactrian Camel, I didn't really like, going into this I was like, I don't really know like what to do with them or anything like that. I knew that they needed a hard shelter, but I didn't want to build anything super extravagant because obviously the people are like, they're like looking down on it. So I was like, well, just a really basic and simple thing with the roof over the top should do it. It did. Do you know what? It's not the most like extravagant thing. Could I have made it this really extravagant build? Absolutely. Do I think it needed it? No, not at all. So the Bactrian Camel actually don't need that much foliage. So I just wanted to add in like a little bit, so it wasn't just like bare bones in there. But the one thing I knew that I wanted desperately, I love these, like, I think they're called wisterias. I just think they're so pretty. And I knew that I wanted to add this around here. Do you know what? This is honestly, I think it's one of my favourite plant pieces they're just so, they just make everything look that much nicer. I genuinely do believe that. Just making it look almost a little bit unkept, not to be looking absolutely perfect, but it also just kind of helps it blend in a little bit. It's not super like, hey, there's a building right here. It's not super in your face. And yeah, you got to make sure that if you're placing water in, that you've got the water power in. Here is a little bit of footage here. So good. So then I very quickly remembered, hey Becky, part of this is education. You've got to place in some education. Now, one of the feedback, and I would really like your guys' opinion on this as well, is maybe I'm placing too much education down, placing too many education boards and all those things. So I would really like your feedback. Like, how many education boards do you guys place down? Because I think that would be like a really interesting thing to look at and discuss. So in this like building, I knew that I wanted to place something. Some of these shops that are in the game, I think they're really great. I was tempted to put like a restaurant in here, but I thought, maybe I'll give like a variety, and I'll do like here's some shops and things. But placing them inside this building was actually more difficult than I thought. I genuinely really struggled with this. Like, how do you place down the paths? How do you make sure that people can get to where they need to be? So, and like making sure that it doesn't look really weird. Yeah, genuine difficulty here. So I ended up placing like a flooring piece down, and you know, I think it actually brought it all together in the end. I really do. So although the paths do look a little bit weird, and you know what, that's totally fine. It does just make, although not all of the floor is usable, it does make it so that they are able to use the majority of it. And I really wanted some seating places. You'll often find in zoos these like seating areas within, like near a enclosure, so you can sit and watch the animals. Obviously, because I placed in the restaurants and things, they created so much mess. Anyway, this is how it turned out. I was super happy with how this build turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, so it is time for your fun fact. Baby camels are born with eyes open and can run only a few hours old. I genuinely think that's so cool. Like, they can just up and run around. Definitely wouldn't be able to do that as a human. And the only truly wild camels that still exist are the Bactrian camels. These herds survive in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia and China, but number less than 400, and they are critically endangered in the wild. That's amazing. So they're the only truly wild camels left over. Wow. That's amazing. Amazing animals. Anyway, I was super happy with how this whole build turned out. I love how it looks. I love that there's like ways that people can interact. There's different shops and things like that. That's not something I've included in any of these builds yet. So I'm really happy that I got to include that. Guys, thank you so much. Leave a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell button so you're notified every time a new video goes live. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much. Bye, friends.